Hi, and welcome to Embodying Your Human Design, how to bring more flow into your life. We decided to bring this special topic of embodying or we wanted to share it because more and more people are learning about human design. And learning about it is one thing. There's a lot of things that we resonate with, but there's a lot of information that comes into you. And just knowing the information is not enough to bring more flow. It's actually embodying the information and doing something with your human design. So who are we? It's Emily, Vino, and Nani Chesire are the presenters today, and I'm Nani. And we're Human Design PDX, and we're not a company, we're actually a collaborative. We came together because we love human design and we love visual aesthetics, and I like photography, and Emily is an artist, and we came together originally to create some guidebooks for each human design type, and it's very digestible information and visually beautiful. And we loved it so much that we're going to do more than just the guidebooks. So stay tuned for other things that we're going to be bringing together. But we also might be bringing or collaborating with other people as well. So you might see one of us collaborating with someone else. We're just bringing us together to bring creative projects to the world. And I am Nani, and I say I'm a magical realist because I'm optimistic, but I know I'm a mom, so I'm very practical as well, and practical things come into my life all the time. I love business, I love human design, I love essential oils, I love being a mom, and I love giving or helping people bring these tools into their life so that their lives can be easier and also just feel more empowered. I started with human design because I have an essential oils business, and I thought human design could help the people building the business with me, and it has. And I also love being able to honor my kids and help them grow up with their human design in a way that is less conditioned than the way I grew up. And here is Emily.
Hi, I'm Emily. I'm an artist and a seeker. I love to use visuals to express all of these fun, esoteric, spiritual ideas that when put into words, maybe go into our head, but when we see it in an art form, it kind of goes into our heart. And I love human design because I feel like it gives people a lot of permission. It often validates things that you already know about yourself so that you can be like, oh yeah, I was right about that moving forward. And I feel like it's a tool that helps us connect to our higher self and call in our higher self. Oh, and embodiment. So embodiment has become more and more of an interest and a theme for me, especially right after I found human design. I started getting more into learning about embodiment and presence. They go super great together because human design isn't meant to just be for the mind anyways. It is a system that calls us to be led by our bodies. But if you're just letting it go into your head and you're not embodying it, you're sort of missing out on part of the experience. And I'm super happy to see that embodiment practices are becoming more widespread because in modern society, everything is so fast-paced, especially in Western society, we value the mind so much, and there's really a balancing that needs to happen. Because you can learn and learn and learn as much as you want, but if you aren't embodying what you learn, it's not going to make any impact or change in your life.
And human design, it gives us the roadmap back to your authentic self. It gives you permission to relax into yourself and just be you. And I think most people on here know a little bit about human design, but if you don't, it's a mix of ancient wisdoms and modern science, and it just gives you this map to how your energy works. And when we weave together embodiment and human design, we get personal liberation, and we see this as empowerment and we're going to talk a little bit about presence and surrender soon, but this just is, giving you freedom and power for yourself.
All right. So yeah, when you become present in the moment, you can start to feel into when you need to take more action and when you need to surrender. And presence is the thing that will tune you into that and allow you to be more led by your body.
So both embodiment and human design are keys to healthy living and awareness that can transform you into the person you are meant to be. And that's why we're bringing this to you.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about presence, surrender, and embodiment in that order, because we have found that, actually, that's not true. What we did find is that presence and surrender kind of swirl together. So it doesn't necessarily need to be in that order, but we're going to talk about it in that order. Embodiment is the end goal. Yeah, presence and surrender are sort of this thing that dance back and forth that lead to embodiment. And yeah, actually, before we do this slide, I'm going to have everyone do a little exercise. Because the topic is embodiment, I want to make sure that we practice that. So I'm going to ask you in a second to close your eyes. And some of you may have done this before. So I'll ask you, well, for now, keep your eyes open so you can see me. But I'll have everyone close their eyes. And then we'll put our hands together like this. And we're going to move them back and forth like this. You can go ahead and do that. Close your eyes. And then keep your eyes closed and just listen to my voice. Okay, everybody stop and just hold your hands slightly apart from each other, keeping your eyes closed. And you should be able to feel sort of like a tingliness. You can open your eyes now if you want to see how far apart my hands are, because you might want to try this again later. So you should feel kind of like a tingling on your hands. And if you don't, that's okay. Just try it again later. But I like this exercise because it kind of does ground you and bring you into your body. And it's just a reminder of like how we're all energy. And you get those immediate results of like, oh yeah, I'm in a body. I am energy. Cool. Hope everyone thought that was super fun. Okay, present. So even though we talked about how presence and surrender can like dance and weave, I like to start with presence because it really does feel like the foundation for everything. If anyone has read The Power of Now, it's a really powerful book that can help you get more present because it doesn't just come into the head. I mean, if you read it and you actually practice what he says, it's a really good way to become more present. So yeah, the reason presence is the foundation for everything is because there is nothing actually real that you can experience other than the now. So the past, everything in the past that was real happened in the now. And then when we imagine the future, it's not real yet. So all that's actually real, the power that you have to play with anything, to play with personal transformation, to play with manifestation, it all starts from getting present because it gives you power because the present is all that's real. It's the foundation for everything. Yeah, and I know the word presence can feel like when we're talking about it right now, we're still talking about it as a concept, but we do want to bring it more into experience. We'll do a little exercise around that after we go through the next slide.
Yes, so presence, this whole presentation is about embodiment within human design. And as we were like delving into this information, we realized that there's presence and surrender and embodiment everywhere in the human design chart. But we just came up with some gates that we could do examples with because they have themes of presence in them. And they're some of the gates that we have ourselves, so we've experienced them and we wanted to share how it might work. So gate 61, and I don't know if my pointer will show up here, but it's up in the head center, so the triangle that's pointing up. And this is the center for inspiration. So you're getting inspiration coming in. And it's surrounded by gate 64 and 63. And those have to do with the past and the present, the past and the future. But 61 is a knowing, and it's a knowing just because you know, but you don't know how that you just know. And to be able to connect to that, you have to be present and be open to pulling in that knowing. Emily, you're going to do 57?
Yes. So gate 57 also has a theme of presence because it comes as like a gentle, I don't know if I would call it a knowing. It's down in the spleen, so it's more in the body. It's like this ability to like penetrate or like know what the right thing to do is, or like know something about other people, but it's so gentle that you have to be present to really experience it. So if your mind is in the past, or if you're worrying about the future, you're not really able to fully express that energy.
And I picked gate 29 because I believe that you need to be present to like live the high expression of this gate. It's about commitment, and it is in the sacral. So in particular, if you're a generator, you are making decisions based on your sacral knowing, which is you have to embody this knowing. And so knowing what to commit to is coming from your body. And so with this 29, I really believe that you need to be present to get the right answer for yourself. Because when you commit to the wrong things or too many things, which I have done from experience, I have this gate, it just leads to burnout or frustration, or if you're not a generator, it's going to lead to probably burnout as well. So just being present when you're committing to things is very important. And Emily, okay. 20?
Gate 20, yes. I have gate 20, and it's very funny. It definitely operates in the now. On a broad scale, it can be like a powerful unifying voice, but on a more individual scale, it operates in the now, and it can just like blurt things out, and it's so in the present that it's like I don't even know what I'm gonna say until I hear it. So that's how in the moment it is. And again, it's sort of the same thing for all four of these gates, that the power to access them works. It's a lot easier to access these energies when you've learned to be more present. And no one's perfect. We can't be present all the time, but you can do practices that can allow you to be more and more present throughout the day than you already are.
And like Emily was talking about gate 57, which is in the spleen, all of the spleen gates are about this. The spleen is about survival, health, intuition, and instinct. And it's all meant to happen in the now. It's like the gazelle running from the lion. The interesting thing about this one is that if you're not present with this and like just moving through fears here, this is where the fears lie. They can really get us stuck because this energy here is meant to just move and you're supposed to be present and just move through it in an instant and move on. So that one is very interesting.
Nani and Emily, I have a question for you, or
sure.
Before you move from this slide. The first time you circled the gate 61, but you haven't really, because we may have viewers that are very new to design, and we do see your cursor on it.
So this is the 61 up here in inspiration. The 57 is down here in the spleen. The 29 is in the sacral, and the 20 is up here in the throat. And then, of course, these are all the spleen gates.
Thank you.
Yes. And now we're going to just give you some tips so that you can start to incorporate more presence into your life.
Yeah, so breath. We'll do another little exercise if you want to participate. I'm just going to like scoot my chair back a little bit because I want my feet on the ground. So if you want to readjust to have your feet on the floor. And again, I'll just have everyone close their eyes and listen to my voice. And I think the main reason when people start doing presence exercises, we start with closing our eyes is because it's shutting out one sensory thing, which allows you to tune into the body more. But I would encourage you over time to start incorporating presence practices that also you can do with your eyes open, which we'll actually get to that on our presentation. But yeah, so everyone sit with your feet flat on the floor, close your eyes, and just start breathing all the way down into the base of your spine. Take some really nice deep breaths and picture your breath going all the way down to the base of your spine. Notice the bottoms of your feet. Feel how they're touching the floor. You can put your hand on your heart area if you want to. Feel the weight of your hand. Feel that contact of your palm on your chest. Okay, now you can open your eyes. So if you'll notice all these presence exercises, I'm emphasizing the body, and so that's why it kind of like all weaves together. And yeah, if we move on to the next, okay, yoga. So when it comes to presence practices, I would say just find one that feels really good to you. There are no rules. There's not one practice that's better than the other. You might find that going on a walk and looking at flowers is what makes you super present, but we'll just give a few examples. Any kind of breath work. What I just did was just like a random embodiment meditation thing that I kind of made up in the moment. But there's lots of breath work out there, like especially on YouTube. You can just type in breath work and try out some different things. And just simply being aware of your breath, like, oh my gosh, I'm taking really shallow breaths. Like maybe while you're driving, you're like, oh, I'm breathing so shallowly. Let's breathe a little deeper. And then yoga. So like the original ancient creation of yoga was actually a practice to get people ready for meditation. It wasn't so much about exercise the way some of us do it now. But yeah, since it was something that the intention was to get you ready for meditation, you can kind of see like, oh, so yoga is a way to quiet the mind, get into the body. And if you practice yoga and your mind is just constantly chattering and it's frustrating, maybe try a different practice. Maybe that's not the one for you right now, and you can enter it back in after you've found something that does help you get more present. Yeah, and then eye gazing. So this one can be a little bit intense, but if you want to try something crazy, if you're kind of an intimacy junkie like me, and you can actually do this with yourself. So you can sit in front of a mirror and look into your own left eye. If you're feeling a little bit shy, you don't want to do this with someone else. And that's really all it is. You're just looking into your left eye and you're just breathing and you're just experiencing yourself. If you want to do this with a friend, a partner, whoever, you just sit across from each other in a cross-legged or comfortable position, and you look into the other person's left eye and you breathe. And it sounds simple, but it's really a profound experience of connection. You become really present to yourself. You almost might, well, the first time I did eye gazing, I was like I was so uncomfortable. I was like looking all around. I was like, this is so awkward. But so first you become really present to yourself. And once you can get comfortable and not feel so awkward, you become really present to this other person. And a lot of times people will just like cry because it's such a powerful experience when you actually slow down and become so present to yourself or to someone else. It can be a really powerful experience.
And meditation is similar to what Emily was talking about for yoga, being present and just kind of like letting thoughts go in and out of your mind, and just even getting ready for meditation is helping you be present, because you have to like find a place to sit down. Even if it's just sitting on a bench, or going to sit on your meditation mat. So it's kind of just about getting yourself in the right mindset. And I also think that meditation can happen while you're moving, because I know, and maybe it's not just manifesting generators, but they move a lot. And so meditation does not have to just be sitting there. You can be present, but be in motion. So whatever meditation works for you, just so that you are more present. And we're going to talk about essential oils for each of these, but in particular for presence, the essential oils to me, so I have one here just to show you, just the act of smelling them and inhaling that is making you more present, because you're connecting with the smell of the essential oil. But they also get to your limbic system within 10 seconds. And I was talking about the 61 before. Sometimes I just pick essential oils based on my knowing. I just know that it's the right one. But I also use, it's going the wrong way, this book called Essential Oil, or Emotions and Essential Oils, in case anyone wants to get into this more. So clary sage is one that you can use, and you can just put it on your pineal gland or your third eye, and it just connects you more to the divine, which for me brings me into presence. Lemon is actually mental presence. It's the oil of focus, and it like detoxifies and lets go of what you don't need and helps you be more mentally present. And breathe, of course, we talked about breath before. Breathe is doTERRA's respiratory blend, and so you don't have to use doTERRA, but you can use a respiratory blend, and that one just helps you like, I don't know, open yourself up and be a little more present. And this is my favorite blend. It just smells so nice, and it can instantly bring me into presence.
All right, moving on to surrender. So we'll talk about kind of two different ways you can play with surrender. So relating it back to human design, Nani and I kind of came up with some language for how each type can surrender to their strategy. And actually, it's not new language. It's just basically, it is the strategy for each type, but from the mindset or the perspective of surrender. For example, generators and manifesting generators, their strategy is to wait and respond. And that is an act of surrender, because it's like letting life show up for you and responding to things from your gut in the moment. It's not passive, but it is sort of like, oh, it's this. Oh, okay. And what's that? Same with projectors who wait for the invitation. And you can think of this as like you're surrendering to the waiting, or you're surrendering to the invitation, but just that posturing yourself in surrender when it comes to your strategy, it just lets you experiment more with like trusting. And when you're surrendering, when you're trusting, you're sort of holding this vibration that like things are going to work out for you, which is a really good vibration to have. And then reflectors would be surrendering to their lunar cycle. And manifestors, even though they initiate, Nani and I were talking about how they're sort of surrendering to their urges, to their desires that lead them into that initiation. Do you have anything to add to that, Nani, or should I keep going?
No, I think you got it.
Okay. And then another way you can play with surrender, and this is just some examples to make it more tangible for you. So for those of you who are into manifestation or wanting to call something specific in, if you start playing with surrendering the how, this can be a really powerful way to learn about how powerful surrender is. So when you want something, you can hold that intention like, okay, I want a job that's like this. And when you surrender the how, like how is that going to come about, you automatically elevate your emotion because again, you're entering this vibration of like, it's taken care of, it's going to happen, I don't have to strive or do as much, right? It's surrendering how this thing is going to show up. So it's really good to hold the intention of what you want, but you can start playing with surrendering how this thing is going to come about. Yeah, so that's a practical way that you can start playing with surrender.
And the gates that we found that had themes of surrender that we wanted to share some examples with you are gate 64, and that's, if you can see my cursor again, it's up here in the head. It's about the inspiration. The reason that we felt this was surrender, or the energy of surrender is necessary here, is because gate 64 is a download of inspirations in a big chunk. And I think of it as like a waterfall of things coming down, and it can be very confusing, and when you have this energy, you may even want to like go ahead and try to figure out the answer or what the epiphany is from that, but it actually leads into a gate down here in the ajna that's processing this information that will actually bring the epiphany. And so you have to surrender to the fact that the epiphany will come and that you're not going to be the one who figures it out. Everything that comes into the head that we are inspired by is like super exciting things to think about. And they may be things we need to share with someone else so that they can respond to them. But the answer, which is the answer to many things in human design, is follow your human design strategy and you'll find what the right answers are for you. So part of that is surrender as well. And then the 54 is down here in the root. And the 54 is called ambition. It's about this vision or being a visionary and having a dream about something. Say it's like a business idea. You have to wait for the energy on the other side of this channel, which is 32. And that is about the right timing for this vision or dream to come true. So you can dream about it, kind of like Emily was saying, you like have an intention, or in this case would be like the idea or dream, and you can do things about it. You can start preparing for things, but you have to surrender to how it's going to happen, and the divine timing for it is going to be outside of the control of the gate 54. And Emily is going to talk about 47.
Yeah, so 47 is actually catching that download that Nani just talked about. So like she said, 64 won't get the epiphany, but 47 will get the epiphany. So gate 47, it wants the epiphany. It's sort of like thinking, and it's like, oh, I want the aha moment. Like, where is it? Where's the light bulb? And as long as it's sort of like spinning in that, like, oh, I want this epiphany to come, there's not a lot of space for the epiphany to come. So something that's really important if you have gate 47 in your chart, if you start to spin in your mind looking for that epiphany, the way to get the epiphany to come is actually to relax. So like imagine like, for me, I always think of like being in the shower. When I'm in the shower, I'm on total autopilot and kind of get into this like meditative space just on accident, or doing the dishes, or maybe on your commute. That's usually when these epiphanies come, because there's actually space for them to come in. So yeah, gate 47 definitely has a theme of surrender, because you just want to like surrender the trying to get to the epiphany to come and just know that it will come. And then gate 12 is in the throat. And the reason we thought that this one had a theme of surrender is because gate 12 is very, very moody. It connects to the solar plexus, the emotions. So gate 12 can be this really artistic expression. It can be plugged into the superconscious so that you can like channel from a higher vibration. That's why it's called channel. But the surrender part is that like to follow your moods, to surrender to your moods. So I think about posting on Instagram, for example, because I do have gate 12. If I'm not feeling it, but I just write this post about how great everything is, but I'm not feeling it, it's probably not the best time to post that, because the power in gate 12 as a throat expression is being in alignment with your moods, the melancholy, the up and down. So if I'm not feeling it, I won't post it, because when you have gate 12, the people who are on the receiving end of whatever you're putting out, they can like read your tone more than your words. They can like read your energy more than your words. So yeah, just surrender to your moods and know that if you're feeling the melancholy, the creative expression is coming, because it's on its way. If it's down, that means it's on its way back up.
So we're going to give you some tips for helping you practice surrender. Again, like Emily was saying, following your human design strategy is probably the number one way that you can surrender within human design. So, if you're a reflector, tell people ahead of time that you're going to take a while to make a decision, because you need your 29 days. If you're a projector, in between invitations, learn about something new, find something that you're curious about, do things that you love, surrender to the time in between the invitations. When you're a generator and manifesting generator, surrender to this one. For me is just like kind of being, well, you have to be present, like what we were talking about before, and then surrendering to the fact that there is going to be something that comes in your outer reality for you to respond to. You do not need to initiate everything, which is been one of my struggles in the past. I thought I was a manifesting generator, or maybe a manifester, but now I am surrendering much more to my strategy. And if you're a manifester, just surrendering to those urges and knowing that the right people will be behind you to make it happen. So just surrendering to your human design strategy. Another one that we had was floating in water. And of course you could float anywhere in water, in your bathtub, in a pool, or something like that. But a way to really, I guess, dip into surrender is floating in like saltwater tanks, because in those usually you're in almost complete darkness. So you again are closing off that sense that Emily was talking about. And then you're kind of just surrendering to just being, because you don't even feel the weight of your body on the earth. You're just in full surrender mode. And Emily's going to talk about earthing.
Oh yeah. earthing and sunbathing. I've started doing this past year. I moved into an apartment that has a park that's like 2 blocks away. And so whenever I get the chance, I walk to the park, and if it seems right, I will take off my shoes and socks and get my bare feet on the earth. I would say this could even work for presence too, because it's just really grounding to have your skin on the earth. And I like to lay down a blanket and just like lay in the park. And the act of like the sun coming down on me and like my body fully heavily sinking into the earth, it really feels like surrender, because it's like, you know, this without the sun, like we wouldn't live. So it's sort of this like surrendering to this life force that's like keeping us alive that I have no control over. And then, so that's why sunbathing can feel like surrender to me. And also when you're laying on the earth, just like feeling your body get really heavy and like being really supported by this thing that is like so much bigger than you. I'm having a hard time putting it into words, but I think you guys are like, can you feel what I mean? That like just laying on something that's so much bigger than you. It's this feeling of surrender, like I am so small and the earth is so big. Not that I am so small, like I'm not powerful, but more like the earth has like, it's got me. I'm okay. I can surrender to this. Dance. Am I doing dance? Yes. Okay. Sorry. So yeah, I want to give you guys a technique. This is especially for people who are like, meditation doesn't work, yoga doesn't work, like nothing works. Try this. Make a playlist that you really like that inspires movement in your body. Wait till nobody is home. Put your playlist on. You might have to move some, like make sure you have some space. Put your playlist on, make sure no one is coming, no one's going to interrupt you. Close your blinds if you want to, whatever. Just that feeling of like, I am completely alone, nothing's going to interrupt me. Close your eyes and then dance. But do it from a place of like, how does my body want to move to this music? Because no one's watching you. You're not watching you. Don't do this in front of a mirror. That's not the point. The point is to drop out of the head and into the body and to surrender to the music, to surrender to how your body wants to move. Can be really powerful and freeing, and it can feel really good, and it can put you in a trance-like state that people want to get from meditation. But if meditation is really hard, this might give you that experience that you've been looking for.
Yeah, when we were coming up with this song, we're like, dance like no one is watching, but literally have no one watching. Make sure yeah, because you just want to be in surrender and presence and in your body. The next tip we have is to go on a trip and get out of your routine. When we're in our routine, it could be going to work, taking your kids to school, whatever you're doing, we're almost on autopilot at a certain point. And so we're just going through the motions. But when you go out of your comfort zone a little bit, and especially like going to have fun and you're exploring and you're curious, you can surrender to like how you feel. Like, what do I want to do now? When do I want to wake up? So it's just about, you could do this without like going on a big trip. You could just like go do something different than you normally do on your lunch break, and just kind of see how you feel. Just kind of let yourself guide yourself, and surrender into whatever comes up. And the essential oils that I recommend for surrender would be cypress, and it's actually literally the essential oil for flow. So this will help you. We felt like surrender, like Emily was talking about dancing, like we feel like surrender is like a flow. Frankincense helps you let go of false truths and kind of connect more with spirit, which is another kind of surrender. And then lime is the zest of life. That's what it is. And it cleanses your heart. And it also connects your heart, sorry, going backwards, your heart to your mind. And it balances between the two. And so I actually think surrender is a lot in the heart. So this helping cleanse your heart and like bring the two together is really helpful for surrender.
Yeah. And then before we go into embodiment, I'll give that's okay. I'll give it's not so much an exercise, but something you can try. And I feel like slightly silly doing this on camera, but I'm committed to giving you these tools, so I'm going to do it. So when we release sound, it feels connected to surrender because it's like release, let go, surrender. So I was at a festival where the emphasis was presence, consciousness, embodiment, and I noticed people doing this, and we would also do it as a group too. So you take a deep breath in, and then you like let out a sigh. It's kind of like this. It doesn't have to be exactly like that, but whatever comes out for you. And the more you do this, it can even like, when I do it, I start to like move too, like see if I can relax enough to get the movement to happen. Let me try again. You can try it with me if you want, although I can't see you. If you see like my neck starts to kind of want to do this, like my shoulders drop, so it's like it can get you into that sort of, again, like vibration or energetic of like surrender, grounding, I'm supported, things are surrendering to things working out for you. So yeah, that's my little tool. Oh, and now embodiment. So yeah, hopefully you can start to see what Nani and I are building up to. Embodiment is just, it's so powerful, especially for people who are spiritually inclined. So I feel like not so much anymore, but definitely in humanity's past, there was this idea, this dualistic idea that the body is bad and being spiritual is good, putting you at odds with your body, or even if it's not that cut and dry. I know like some meditations, possibly in Buddhism, I know there's some meditations that are more about leaving the body. And not to say that that is bad, but Nani and I are more emphasizing being in your body as a spiritual practice, and that you don't have to choose. And so that's why my little sentence there, transcending dualistic perspectives, that the body is bad and spirituality is good. And it's like, no, everything is sacred. Our bodies are sacred. The things that our bodies do are sacred. And the way this leads into human design is our authority. So we talked about how each type has a strategy, and within that, there are different authorities. So even if I'm a generator and you're a generator, we might have different authorities. So, for example, sacral authority is felt in the gut, right? And it helps you make decisions. But if you're not embodied, if you're not embodied, you can't feel your gut response. So if you're into human design, but you're sort of feeling like, oh, thank you. Yeah, if you're into human design and you are struggling with that authority, this presentation is for you. Embodiment practices are for you. So yeah, for example, if your authority is sacral, you're going to feel it in your gut. If you have splenic authority, that is like an instinct. It's like a resonance, and it happens very kind of gently and quickly. So if you have splenic authority, I would say really pursue embodiment. Neither Nani nor I are self-projected authority, but we have a friend who is, and she talked about it sort of feeling like a butterfly in the heart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a different kind of feeling. And I think when you have self-projected or self-authority, your feeling might be different places in your body, but you'll know, you just already know what that feeling is, and then you have to tune into it. The sounding board is for projectors, and we wrote resonance here because the more I talk to projectors, I find out that, so sounding board means talking out things that you're trying to make decisions on with others so that you can hear yourself talk it out. You don't necessarily care what the other person is going to say back to you because you're really just guiding yourself. But it has to do with the resonance or the vibration of the sound as you're talking it out. And that's what's helping you make the decision. So there's embodiment even in sounding board. And again, these are just some examples that we came up with. I'm sure you can find embodiment in other places as well. We do have some gates, and I'm going to put, so 46 is right here in the G center. And 46 is called, it's physicality, but it's also like, sometimes it's called the gate of embodiment. And like I was telling you before, like when you're 29 is down here, and it's like if you're committing to the right projects, or I say projects, but it could be anything that you're doing, you're committing to, I don't know, party invite or to what you're going to eat or whatever. If you're committing to the right things, your body's going to express itself through the 46 in a positive way. If you're committing to the wrong things, especially over time, your body's going to show you what's happening. It could be a physical pain. It could be, head tension, your back. I don't know, it's happened to me before, like lower back pain. It could even be physical, like holding onto weight or other things that can happen with your physical form. So embodiment is really ingrained in this gate. And I also picked gate 1 because, and it's called self-expression. It's about creatively expressing yourself in the world. And I think when I first learned about the energy of gate 1, I thought, oh, you have, like this is about expressing yourself in art. Like you have to do this painting, and it's like, you have to have this special way of doing it that's your own creation. But this energy, it could be that. Probably for Emily, sometimes that's what it is. But it is really about embodying, so tuning into yourself, following your human design strategy, and then being yourself. So this is about embodying the expression of yourself. And then that's what the creative expression is that you're giving to the world, is just being yourself. And that one is here in the G center as well. And we're going to give you some tips for embodiment now.
So yeah, we put Kundalini yoga, which is something I actually haven't practiced myself, but I know that it works really well for Westerners because there's a lot of movement and breath, and you're not just sitting there trying to be like, how do I empty my mind? How do I get these thoughts to go away? It involves more of the body. So that might be something, if traditional meditation has been hard for you, that might be something wait, did I say Kundalini yoga? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It is like sort of a yoga and meditation thing together.
Yeah. I actually have done Kundalini yoga myself, and I can't sit still for very long. So sometimes yoga that is not Kundalini is hard for me. But Kundalini is it's like moving the energy through your body. And yeah, you're definitely moving, and sometimes getting sweaty even because you're moving, whatever energy you're moving is is just working up a sweat. You can do any movement that feels good. So for me, I actually really like Nia, which is basically dancing yoga. So that is what feels good to me, but it could be running, it could be swimming, it could be walking with your family, it could be, I don't know, yeah, obviously, any movement that feels good to you. And then we also brought up massage, acupuncture, other energy healing, and this is embodiment because it's similar to like what I was describing with Kundalini yoga, because when someone's massaging you or they're putting in the acupuncture needles, they're moving energy in your body. And so it's like connecting the energy that's all around there with your body and putting it back into a healthy, happy place for you. And
yeah, I would add to that, for some people, if you're just getting embodied for the first time in a really long time, or if you because trauma experiences can get stored in the body. So if you are trying embodiment and it feels scary, then I would refer back to those examples Nani gave, like just do it with support. Find a practitioner, a body worker who can help you move into embodiment and also support you emotionally as emotions are getting flushed out through the embodiment. And yeah, back to dance again. Dance is so great. It's just important that, you can go take dance classes, that's totally fine too, but when the focus is on embodiment, dancing without a routine is really great, because if you're focused on a routine, you're still in the mind and there's still a right or wrong way to be moving. You're using the mind. So dancing without a routine, it's just a different realm. If anyone wants to try this out in a group setting, check to see if your city has ecstatic dance. It can be kind of an intense experience. Go with an open mind, just depending who's there. But basically, ecstatic dance is like a sober setting, like no drugs or alcohol, and there's music playing, and there's no talking, and people are just moving. And if it's done properly, there's no touching without consent, obviously. So ecstatic dance can be really fun if you've done the dancing home alone with your eyes closed and you're like, I want to take this up a level, like what happens when I interact with other people's energies. And then, yeah, there's Shiva Shakti dance, which is just something that I did at a festival where when the music is in Shiva, you're embodying the movements of Shiva, which are much more like conscious and grounding, and then the music changes to Shakti, and then you're supposed to embody like the chaos and the wild and freedom of Shakti. So that's a really fun embodiment practice because you're like focusing on embodying specific energies. Yeah, and then free dance is kind of what I talked about in Surrender.
yeah, and when I do the Nia, it's kind of like a combination of sounds similar to Shiva and Shakti, but really they put in just different practices. It's even up to like kickboxing and doing Tai Chi and different movements, but then there's usually a free dance section. So of course, as you can tell, we both love to dance, so that's what we like to do, but you could do other movements. And the essential oils I'd recommend are grapefruit, which is the oil of honoring the body. And all of the citrus essential oils are like mood lifting and cleansing. So I like that for embodiment because it kind of just gets you to the core of who you are. Peppermint is about a buoyant heart, and it brings you into the joy of being alive. So of course we could be a spirit and not be here on earth, but we're here on earth in our body, and we want to be happy being alive and in our body. And wild orange is the oil of abundance, and it also helps restore physical energy so that you can do a lot of these movement things. And I think, yeah. if you want to learn more about what we're up to or what we're offering, you can sign up for our newsletter on humandesignpdx.com, and you actually get this downloadable image for, well, it's like a freebie, and Emily designed it. It's very beautiful, so you can go sign up and get that. We're on Instagram and we're on Pinterest, so you can follow us wherever you like. And we thank you so much for being here today. We hope you learned something from us, and we enjoyed sharing with you, and we look forward to connecting with you. And I don't know exactly what time it is, but we might be able to answer a few questions.
About 4 minutes, and what came, there was a couple comments and one question. So do you want the question first?
Sure.
Rita asked, what if you're emotionally defined? When you were talking about authority, I don't think you went into the emotional definition.
Emily's shaking her head. I don't know if she wants to answer that one.
Oh, you can answer it. I mean, you should answer it. I'm having thoughts. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny that we didn't even touch on emotions in here because we're very in tune with emotions. We're actually both open emotional solar plexus, but you can feel everyone else's emotions. And emotions are totally embodied, and they're also in movement. It's like energy in motion. So if you're a generator and you have emotional authority, you still follow your sacral response and you just do it over time. If you are not a generator, manifesting generator, definitely tuning in. So what I would suggest about the emotional wave is feel in your body the emotions that go up and down and see if you can figure out what your wave is, so that because it's all about waiting until you have gone through. So this is about surrender. So you have to wait and surrender through your emotional wave. And of course, not thinking of the highs or low as bad or good. It's just outward expression and inward integration, and just being present with your emotions, surrendering to them, and then kind of taking in your wave. And you don't necessarily have to figure out like what's happening day by day, but just knowing the feeling of embodiment of when you've come to that clarity point. Maybe like looking back at some time when a decision was great and kind of pinpointing when you knew it was right, and maybe looking back at one that wasn't so great, kind of looking where you might have like jumped too soon to make the decision. I don't know if Emily has more to add.
I would add, I've heard it described as like, the emotional waves going up and down. And then, so if you're feeling like yes on the high, you want to wait a couple days, because what if when it goes down low, you feel like no, and instead wait for like this peaceful clarity. So from an embodiment perspective, for sure, like Nani said, being present to the wave, surrendering to the wave, and then the embodiment of the authority would be like, what does clarity feel like? Like Nani said, referring back to a decision that went really well for you. Oh, I must have had clarity then. And then once you start to learn what clarity feels like for you, it's like just knowing that that's going to come at the end of your wave. So just always giving yourself time.
One more question came in. So we're right at the top of the hour. Would you like the last question? And then,
sure, we can try to do it quickly if you're okay with it, Cindy.
I'm fine with that.
Okay.
Steph says, I learned that the spleen is intuition. You said instinct. Please clarify. Thank you.
So from my how I understand, the spleen is intuition, but intuition kind of comes from instinct, because we kind of just know as humans, and even animals have this instinct maybe Emily's going to be able to explain this better. I have this note. I know how I know that I know, but I maybe not be able to explain it.
I would say that each center has like a little list of, like, say the G center is love, direction, identity. The heart is ego, willpower, money, self-worth. So the spleen, I would say, is intuition, instinct, immunity. It's not one or the other. It's both. Does that help?
Well, that helped me, and I can understand. And, intuition is sort of instinctual too, if you're following it quiet. But I think that I'm not seeing other comments. And thank you. This was very interesting. The replay will be here on Facebook, and I'll also put your contact information in the description too. And thank you. This was very interesting.
Yeah, thank you for hosting this for us and letting us participate.
All right. Thanks. Bye.
All right, bye.
Yeah.